Your neighbor's new luxury SUV is probably financed on a terrible 7-year loan. We constantly ask how much we really need in an emergency fund, but the brutal truth is, trying to look rich is the exact thing stopping you from actually being rich. If your money is tied up in status symbols, your financial safety net will always be empty. Today, we are deconstructing toxic auto loans, societal pressure, and calculating your true survival number. To truly understand how to build a massive, impenetrable emergency fund, we must first analyze the exact psychological mechanism that destroys it. We live in a society completely obsessed with visible wealth. When you drive through a suburban neighborhood and see a driveway filled with a brand new $80,000 luxury SUV and a highly modified performance truck, your brain automatically makes a massive, deeply flawed assumption. You think, wow, those people must be incredibly rich. This is the grand illusion of the modern economy. You are not seeing wealth. You are seeing the exact opposite of wealth. You are looking at a monument to debt. You are seeing the money that they no longer have because they signed it over to a massive automotive corporation and a banking institution. True wealth is entirely invisible. True wealth is the money that is absolutely not spent. It is the fully funded 6-month emergency account sitting quietly in a high-yield savings account. It is the maxed-out retirement portfolio, the lack of high-interest credit card debt, and the absolute financial peace of mind that comes from knowing you could lose your job tomorrow and survive for an entire year without breaking a sweat. But society does not reward invisible wealth with social validation. Nobody claps for you when you transfer $1,000 into a savings account. They clap for you when you pull up to the office in a shiny new vehicle with a leather interior. Because human beings inherently crave social status and validation, millions of people willingly sacrifice their actual financial security just to purchase the visual props that make them look successful to strangers at a red light. Trying to look rich is the number one thing stopping you from actually being rich. The ultimate weapon of mass financial destruction in the middle class is the modern auto loan. If you want to know why you have absolutely no emergency fund, look in your driveway. 2 decades ago, the standard car loan was 36 months. It was a brief period of financing meant to help you acquire essential transportation. Today, the automotive industry has successfully normalized the 72, and even the terrifying 84-month car loan. That is 7 full years of financing a depreciating asset. Why did this happen? It happened because cars became drastically more expensive, but average wages did not keep up. Instead of admitting they cannot afford a $60,000 luxury SUV, consumers focus entirely on one single toxic metric: the monthly payment. Dealerships know exactly how to exploit this psychological weakness. If you tell a car salesman you can only afford $600 a month, they will just mathematically stretch the term of the loan out to 7 years to make the math fit your demand. Let us look at the terrifying reality of an 84-month loan. Imagine you finance a $60,000 vehicle at an 8% interest rate over 7 years. Over the life of that loan, you will pay over $18,000 strictly in pure interest. You are paying $78,000 for a $60,000 asset. But it gets much worse. A car is not a house. It is a depreciating liability. By year 3 of this 7-year loan, your vehicle has lost roughly 40% of its value. It is now worth $36,000, but because of how loan amortization works, you still owe the bank $45,000. You are entirely trapped in negative equity. If you lose your job and experience a true financial emergency, you cannot even sell the car to save yourself, because you would have to write the bank a $9,000 check just to get rid of it. You have effectively built a financial prison out of leather and steel. To completely break free from the status symbol trap, you must fundamentally understand the concept of depreciation. Depreciation is the silent wealth killer. It is the mathematical law that certain objects lose their value simply through the passage of time and physical wear. When you purchase real estate, historically, it appreciates. The land becomes more valuable over decades. When you purchase broad market index funds representing the top 500 companies in the economy, they appreciate. But when you purchase a brand new vehicle, it is a rapidly deteriorating machine made of exploding chemicals, rubber, and glass. The absolute second you drive a brand new car off the dealership lot, it legally transitions from a new car to a used car, instantly vaporizing 10 to 20% of its market value. If you buy a $50,000 car, you literally lose $5 to $10,000 in net worth during your 10-minute drive home. By year 5, that exact same vehicle is worth less than half of what you paid for it. The core rule of building a massive emergency fund and generational wealth is incredibly simple. You never, ever pay interest on a depreciating asset. Borrowing money from a bank, paying them a premium interest rate, to buy an object that is mathematically guaranteed to plummet in value is the absolute definition of financial self-sabotage. Every dollar you lose to car depreciation is a dollar that was violently stolen from your emergency fund. You are trading your future financial safety for the temporary smell of new leather. If you are still defending your massive car payment, we must look at the most terrifying financial concept of all: opportunity cost. Every single dollar you spend in your life has an opportunity cost. It means that when you choose to assign a dollar to one specific job, you permanently destroy its ability to do any other job. Look at the data on this slide. The average new car payment in the United States is currently hovering around $800 to $900 a month. Let us take that $900. If you sign a 7-year auto loan, you are committing to handing over $900 every single month for 84 consecutive months. What is the opportunity cost of that decision? What else could that money have achieved? If, instead of financing a luxury status symbol, you bought a reliable $10,000 used car in cash, you would have zero car payments. If you took that exact same $900 a month and automatically invested it into a broad market S&P 500 index fund, returning a historical average of 8%, the math is absolutely staggering. Over those same 7 years, your investment account would grow to nearly $100,000. You would have contributed $75,000 in raw cash, and the magic of compound interest would have generated an extra $24,000 in completely free passive income. That luxury SUV did not just cost you $60,000. It cost you a $100,000 emergency vault. It cost you the ability to quit a toxic job without fear. It cost you the down payment on a beautiful home. When you finance status symbols, you are not just paying for the object. You are actively murdering your own financial potential. Now, we must connect this directly to your emergency fund. This brings us to a terrifying mathematical concept called the emergency fund paradox, or the double penalty. Not only does an $800 car payment aggressively drain your monthly cash flow, making it impossible to save, but it simultaneously increases the exact amount of money you are mathematically required to save. Let me explain the math. Your emergency fund target is calculated by taking your absolute bare-bones monthly survival expenses and multiplying them by 6 months. If you lose your job, you can cancel your Netflix subscription. You can stop going to restaurants, but you cannot cancel a car loan. An auto loan is a legally binding contract. If you do not pay it, the bank will repossess the vehicle and completely destroy your credit score. Therefore, your massive car payment must be included in your survival baseline. Look at the math on the screen. Imagine 2 people with the exact same rent and grocery bills. The wealth builder drives a paid-off car. Their survival baseline is $2,400 a month. Their 6-month emergency fund target is $14,400. Now look at the status chaser. They have a $900 car payment and higher insurance premiums. Their survival baseline is $3,400 a month. Because of the car, their required 6-month emergency fund skyrockets to over $20,000. To survive for 6 months, the status chaser has to save an extra $6,000 in pure liquid cash, just to hand it to a bank to keep a piece of metal in their driveway. By trying to look rich, they have mathematically trapped themselves. They almost doubled the size of the emergency fund they need, while destroying the cash flow needed to build it. So how do smart, hard-working people fall into this trap? It usually happens through a psychological phenomenon known as lifestyle creep, also called the hedonic treadmill. Imagine you graduate college or secure your first major corporate promotion. Your income suddenly jumps from $50,000 a year to $80,000 a year. This is a massive $30,000 raise. This is the exact moment where your financial destiny is decided. The mathematically correct move is to keep your lifestyle exactly the same as it was when you made $50,000 and take that entire $30,000 surplus and ruthlessly pump it into a high-yield emergency fund. You could build a bulletproof financial fortress in less than 10 months. But that is not what most people do. The moment the new paycheck clears, they look at their perfectly reliable 5-year-old Toyota and suddenly decide it is too old. They convince themselves that an $80,000 salary requires a $40,000 luxury vehicle. They move out of their modest apartment and sign a lease for a high-rise luxury loft. They start buying organic groceries and dining at expensive steakhouses. They increase their expenses at the exact same rate as their income. Their income went up, but their wealth remained at absolute zero. The goalpost completely moved. This is why you see high-earning professionals making $250,000 a year who are secretly living paycheck to paycheck, terrified of missing a single month of work. You cannot out-earn a bad spending habit. If your desires constantly expand to consume every single dollar you make, you will remain trapped in the rat race forever, desperately trying to maintain the illusion of wealth. The mechanism that triggers lifestyle creep is almost always emotional. It is a psychological justification that I call the "I deserve it" fallacy. We live in a highly stressful, hyper-competitive modern world. You are working 50 to 60 hours a week. You are dealing with a difficult boss, exhausting commutes, and relentless pressure. When Friday finally arrives, you are completely drained. You walk past a dealership, or you see a perfectly targeted advertisement on social media for a beautiful, premium vehicle. Your emotional brain kicks in. You say to yourself, "I work incredibly hard. I am exhausted. I suffer every single day at the office. I deserve a reward. I deserve to drive a nice car. Life is short." Some people even try to justify it mathematically by saying, "I am financing this car just to build my credit score." That is complete delusion. A credit score is just an "I love debt" rating. You do not need to pay a bank thousands of dollars in interest just to build a credit score. You just wanted the heated seats. Let me completely validate your feelings. Yes, you do work hard. Yes, you do deserve a reward. But locking yourself into a 7-year high-interest auto loan is not a reward. You are not buying a gift. You are voluntarily signing up for corporate debt slavery. You are actively handing your future time and labor over to a bank. What you actually deserve is freedom. You deserve to sleep perfectly soundly at night, knowing that if your car engine explodes or if your company undergoes massive corporate layoffs, you will not lose your home. A leather steering wheel will never give you peace of mind when the collection agencies start calling. Stop rewarding your hard work by destroying your own financial safety net. Now that we have dismantled the toxic desire for status symbols, we can finally calculate the exact mathematical amount you need in an emergency fund. We are going to build your fortress right now. The biggest mistake amateurs make is looking at their current, bloated, status-driven monthly spending and multiplying that massive number by 6. They say, "Well, I spend $6,000 a month on my lifestyle, so I need $36,000 in my emergency fund." They get completely overwhelmed and give up before they even start. Here is the secret. Your emergency fund is not designed to protect your luxury lifestyle. It is designed to protect your biological survival. If you lose your job tomorrow, your financial behavior will instantly change. You will immediately stop going to expensive steakhouses. You will cancel the premium streaming subscriptions. You will not buy a new designer watch. Therefore, you do not need to save cash to fund those activities. You must calculate your bare-bones survival number. This consists strictly of the 4 walls. Wall 1 is basic housing, your rent or mortgage. Wall 2 is utilities, keeping the lights on, the water running, and basic internet active so you can apply for jobs. Wall 3 is food, Strictly essential groceries from a supermarket, absolutely zero restaurants or delivery apps. Wall 4 is basic transportation and minimum debt obligations, fuel to get to job interviews and minimum credit card or loan payments to avoid default. Look closely at your bank statements. Strip away the ego. Calculate the absolute minimum amount of cash you must burn every 30 days just to stay alive, warm, and fed. For the average individual who has eliminated their car payment, this survival baseline is usually around $2,500 to $3,000 a month. Once you have established your strictly essential survival baseline, you must multiply it by a unit of time. We measure safety in months, not arbitrary dollars. The universal gold standard is holding a minimum of 3 to 6 months of living expenses in pure liquid cash. Which multiplier you choose depends entirely on your personal risk profile. You belong in the 3-month category if your life is highly agile and low risk. If you are single, have absolutely no children relying on your income, and you rent an apartment, your risk is low. If a pipe bursts in your apartment, you just call the landlord. It is their financial crisis, not yours. If you work in a high-demand field like specialized healthcare or IT, where you know you could find a new job within 3 weeks, you only need to multiply your survival number by 3. $3,000 times 3 equals a $9,000 target. However, if you have a high-risk profile, a 3-month fund is completely insufficient. You must build a 6-month fortress. You are high risk if you are the sole provider for a family. You are high risk if you own a home, because if the roof collapses or the furnace explodes, you bear 100% of the financial liability. You are extremely high risk if you are a freelancer, an entrepreneur, or your income is based entirely on unpredictable sales commissions. Furthermore, macroeconomic data proves that replacing a mid to senior level corporate job can easily take 4 to 5 months of extensive interviews. If you only have 3 months of cash, you will panic and take a terrible job just to survive. 6 months of cash buys you the ultimate luxury, time and extreme psychological leverage. $3,000 times 6 equals an $18,000 fortress. If you are currently trapped in one of these massive auto loans and your emergency fund is hovering near zero, you are in a financial emergency right now. You must execute an aggressive escape plan to reclaim your income. Step 1. Assess the damage. Log into your lender's portal and find the exact payoff amount for your vehicle. Then, look up the private party value of your car online to see exactly where you stand mathematically. Step 2. Sell the trap. You must sell the vehicle. Do not trade it into a dealership, as they will vastly underpay you. Sell it privately to maximize the value. If you owe more than the car's worth, meaning you have negative equity, go to a local credit union, take out a small personal loan to cover the exact difference, and sell the car. Yes, having a small personal loan is annoying, but it is infinitely better than being trapped in a $60,000 depreciating asset for 7 years. Step 3. Buy reliability in cash. Take whatever cash you have left or save up aggressively for 2 months and buy a $5,000 to $8,000 used, highly reliable car. A 10-year-old Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla. Pay for it in physical cash. You now have 0 car payments. Step 4. Fund the vault. This is where your life changes forever. You take that massive $900 payment that used to go to the bank and you set up an automatic transfer. Every single month, that $900 is fired directly into your high-yield savings account. Without changing your salary or working a second job, you are now injecting nearly $11,000 a year into your emergency fund. You are finally building true wealth. In conclusion, the math of personal finance is incredibly simple, but the psychology is brutally difficult. The reason most people do not have a fully funded emergency vault is not because they do not make enough money. It is because they surrender their massive income to automotive corporations and banks just to maintain a fragile illusion of status. A luxury car is just a piece of glass and metal. It will dent, it will rust, and it will eventually end up in a junkyard. But an emergency fund is pure oxygen. It is the ability to walk away from a toxic boss. It is the ability to handle a medical crisis without a shred of panic. It is absolute mathematical invincibility. Stop faking wealth. Stop letting your neighbor's spending habits dictate your financial destiny. Calculate your exact survival number today. Sell the liabilities that are dragging you down, buy a reliable used car in cash, and aggressively build your 6-month fortress. True wealth is silent, and it is time for you to start building it.